Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you all for joining. I am super excited about this one. Today's presentation is called the PMO Project Recovery Process. This is going to be a completely different angle, a completely different take. It is not what you think. It's never been shared before. You can Google it, you can Bing it, you're not going to find it. You can even chat GPT it, and you're not going to find it. I'm really excited about sharing it. Let's jump in. Who am I? My name is Bill Dow. I have 31 years of hands-on experience in the project management industry. I run a very large PMO in Seattle, Washington. I worked at Microsoft for 14 years. I ran PMOs there. I worked at AT&T, Singular, ran PMOs there. I started my career in project management in 1991 in the government of British Columbia. So yes, I am Canadian, and I am thrilled to be sharing my background experiences today. I've been a speaker and a presenter around the world, from London, India. I spoke in India, in Hyderabad for Microsoft. I've spoken all over North America, from Las Vegas to San Diego to Toronto to Vancouver, Indianapolis. I've got a great YouTube channel, Dow Publishing YouTube channel. I've been on the radio. And I've been publishing books and eBooks since 2008. So I'm a 7-time author. My books are up on Amazon, my PMO and project management books. I also have a ton of free books on buildOutPMPtraining.com. You can look for PMO and project management and stuff there, ebooks there, and courses there, and all sorts of goodness there. So check it out, and I'm excited about today. Okay, so we've got 4 agenda items. We're going to talk about the problem statement. We're going to talk about how to recover a troubled project. We're going to talk about a PMO Leaders Approach to recovering a project, and then we'll wrap up. Okay, all right, the problem statement, right? Project managers struggle with their projects and need help. Well, I think I said it. It's project managers struggle, right? And so because project managers struggle, we need to be able sometimes to step in and help them, right? People struggle. Sometimes these projects are more complicated, and sometimes they just need a little bit of help, and that's our problem statement today. So in PMOs today, we run very large and very small projects. We hire staff with a variety of skills based on what we need at the time of hiring. We don't really know if someone can manage a project until they get in there and start managing them and we see them in action. I've been doing this for a long time, and I can tell you people can interview very well, but until we get them in there and we see how they act and how they manage a project, we just don't know. Sometimes our project assignments we make for our project managers are too complex, right? We put them in a spot where, frankly, we need to help them and we need to support them. So for today's discussion, let's take a scenario here, right? Here's our situation. We've got a large IT project. It's in red. It's not hitting the deadlines. It's not hitting dates. It's just missing a ton, and it's just not doing well. The project manager is struggling, right? Struggling to get the team members to agree, struggling to get the confidence from the leadership, can't get deliverables done on time, right? Doesn't know how to move the project forward. The thing is, though, it's a pet project for one of your leading executives who has called in personally and said, you've got to come in and take over this project. Okay, so they've called you, a PMO leader, into this project and says you tactically have to get involved. Okay, well, there's graphics people out there, and I want to be very clear for the graphics people. You are sitting in one of these blue or orange boxes. You're a leader, it doesn't matter where you are, but Project A is in trouble. Okay, so Project A is in trouble, and you're either a blue box or an orange box, but your leadership team has called you in to help and support. So the question is, how do you recover a troubled project? Or the question really is, how do you recover a project from a PMO leader's perspective? And that's the key to this conversation. But let's do this. Let's jump into this. Okay, so I love Google. I love Bing. I love Google. I love ChatGPT. I love all that stuff. But let's ask my friend Google. Hey, Google, how do I recover a project that's in trouble? And I get hundreds and hundreds of responses. All right, there is no lack of ways and no lack of opinions of how to recover a troubled project. Okay, and I think you could do that same search yourself and see those same hundreds of results. Okay, I'm a big Google fan. Let's go ask Google Bard. Hey, Google Bard, how do I recover a project? Acknowledge this, assess this, get buy-in, develop a recovery plan, blah, 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 blah. All good stuff. Okay. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I mean, that's good. But is that from a PM's perspective? Or is that from a PMO leader's perspective? Is there a difference? Oh, there's a difference. Okay, let's do this. Let's ask ChatGPT. Hey, ChatGPT, what are the things to recover a project? How do I, as a project manager, or how do I help a project manager turn around a project? Again, we're doing this from a leader's perspective. Okay, communications, restructure the plan, power the team, good, right? Again, no shortage of advice on how to recover a project. But what is missing is how do PMO leaders approach helping a project manager recover a project, right? That's what's missing. You're not finding that on the internet. Go put that Google search in. It will not come back with anything relevant. It'll come back, but nothing relevant. So again, let's understand where we are. We're in the blue box, we're in the orange box. We're in the blue box, we're in the orange box, right? And we've got to go help one of those projects, so happen to be project A, but one of those projects that are in trouble. Because how you do this will be critically important to the ongoing relationship of that employee. How you do this will make or break your employee relationship for years to come. And that's exactly what we're going to cover today. Cool, right? Because this is so different and you're just not seeing this out here. So what's a PMO leader's approach to recovering a troubled project? Right? What is that PMO leader's approach? Well, most PMO leaders are in leadership role because they come from a program or project management background. There's very few successful PMO leaders that have never ran a project before. I can tell you, I've been doing this for over 30 years, right? Most have been successful as an individual contributor role and have been promoted to management based on their hard work and the historical success. And we've seen sometimes that works and sometimes that doesn't work. Forget that for now. Let's keep diving into this topic. The last thing that you want to do as a PMO leader when assigned to assist a project manager to recover a project is to become the de facto project manager, right? That could shake the confidence completely of the project manager, and you might never recover from that. So let's be clear. If you become the de facto project manager and you just push aside your current project manager and say, yeah, forget it, I'll take over, I can do it, right? That's a huge problem. And that's going to shake their confidence. Because again, it's not going to be something that's scalable. So think about this. You're in that blue or that orange box, and you got to run Project E, you got to run Project A, you got to run Project C. Plus, you have to run your organization. You've got to do bonuses. You've got to do performance reviews. You've got to deal with vendors. You've got to deal with hiring and firing and layoffs and all that thing to run a PMO. Running projects at the same time is going to be very, very challenging. It's not scalable. Let me say that again. It's not scalable. So What are some best practices? What can you do to help recover a project? What are some best practices? Well, the first thing you can do is you can approach this from a mentor coach perspective, right? When you put that mentor coach mindset on, you quickly assess the project situation with the project manager. You don't do it in secret, you don't do it behind his or her back, you do it with that project manager. You can't approach this from a judgmental perspective. It has to be from a learning and supportive perspective. Remember, you might have put the project manager in a project that they are not able to do. You may have put them in this exact spot. They may have interviewed very well, answered all the right questions, but you may have put them on more of a too complex of a project, and you put them in this situation. So you really need to understand that. This is a critical long-term relationship that you're talking about here, especially with your employees, right? So you want to grow this process. You want to be aware of the long-term relationship that you're going to have with your employee compared to trying to solve a very quick, project situation, right? So think about this from a long-term relationship perspective. So here are some key points that we're going to dive into, but here are some key points that you need to focus on. Coach. In some cases, you may need to take over some key project meetings, right? That's okay to get the project turned around. That's okay. You can take over some key meetings, but guide and coach your PM through those meetings. You lead the meetings, but make sure the project manager has a role and they're tracking and guiding what you're doing. Be careful. Many project managers will approach this situation negatively. They'll throw their hands up, they'll be demoralized. It's like, oh, okay, you take the project, right? Others will embrace the help. Some project managers will just throw their arms up in the air and be very frustrated. Be careful with this situation. Long term, again, this is critical to the long-term confidence of the project manager, and that they have to know this is temporary and they will get that project back. You're not going to be the de facto project manager. You're just there to turn the thing around. Does that make sense? Because I think this is so important. You've got to take these 3 steps and three best practices and really understand how to approach a situation. Of course, you got to recover the project. I get that. But you've got to think about the long-term relationship that you'll have with your project manager. I can't stress enough. Okay, so let's dive a little bit deeper into those top 3 focus areas. I want to make it easier. I want to break it down. I want to focus on those areas because I think it's really important we tackle those. We're not going to go deep, but we're going to go deep enough that you get an understanding and really understand how to approach this. Okay, so the key to the focus on the recovery, right? You have to focus on getting this project turned around. This is not about lessons learned. This is literally about getting the project out of the mess that it's currently in, the red status it's currently in, and basically turning that around. You don't want to make this something like, why did you get there? And, I can't believe you did this. I can't believe you did that. Just focus on getting the thing turned around. So what I've done is I've documented 3 different areas that I want you to focus on to help you recover the project. Again, don't look at these for the tactical steps. You're the PMO leader. You need to approach this in a very different way. You're not the de facto project manager. I can't stress that enough. You're not the de facto project manager. You need to run your organization. You can't run and solve every project manager's problem, be scalable, and still run a world-class project management office. It's not going to happen. Okay? So there's 3 things to look for when you're recovering a project from a PMO leader's perspective. I'm not going to go deeply. I'm going to go deep enough to help you through this process. Okay, number one is the project. The first thing you need to do is look at the current state of the project. Yes, this is where you get to go back, pull up your PM skills, look at the key components of the project at the current time you're taking it over, right? So when you're called by your executive says, get in here, take over this mess, what are you actually seeing? So the first sets of questions would be, does the project manager have the key project deliverables? Do they have risks? Do they have issues? Do they have a schedule? Do they have decisions? Do they have a rhythm of business? Do they have meeting minutes? Do they have lessons learned? Are they doing the core DNA of running the project? You as a PMO leader need to work with a project manager and assess where they're at in the current state. Unless you know that current state, you're not going to know how to move forward. And that's a key point. You got to come in and understand where are we at, what do we have, what do we don't have, and then figure out how to move forward. Then once you do that, you're going to create a clear set of quick and decisive recommendations for the project manager to put in place. Great example of this, right? For a red status, I would put daily stand-up meetings in place. I'd take some of the goodness of Agile and I'd say, okay, one of the things we're going to do to turn this project around is we're going to get daily stand-up meetings with our team. And we're going to figure out on a day-to-day basis how we turn this around. Another best practice would be to have executive meetings every couple days. Bring your executives in every couple days and help them and have them help you remove roadblocks, right? So the key here is really understanding the state of the project at the time and really understanding how to move the project forward. Okay? Step 2, this is where you're going to focus on the project manager. Now what you're going to do is understand what they've done and next work on supporting them, right? So the project may have been outside their skills and ability. This is where you're going to have to reflect. This is where they interviewed amazing, but we actually assigned them something that was too difficult, right? Like I said, you may need to take over some key meetings, but what you want to do is you want to be in coaching mode, in mentoring mode, right? You want to be to this point where they are not throwing their hands up, they're not demoralized, they actually accept your help, understand that there's not going to be consequences and you're not going to make this a negative, you're going to make this a positive and turn it around and have them learn from how you've turned this around. Does that make sense? Because I think it's really, really important that you figure out how do you move this bar, how do you turn this thing around and really drive through and help them be successful for future projects. Okay? All right, then number 3 is now around how do we provide ongoing training and support. So now we've got the project, we understand the state of the project, we've started to coach the project manager, we start getting some stuff in place. Now we need to focus on getting the right training and support for the project manager so they know how to avoid getting in those situations again. So the project's under control, now you shift to their training. Focus the initial training and support on what the project manager was missing when you got called in to take over it. I just want to be really clear on that. Focus in on what training and support they need when you got called in to help take over that project, right? Because it's going to range crazy from project manager to project manager, right? They're all going to have their own ways and ways of doing things. But when you got called in and said, please take over this project, you then had to figure out the current state. And that's a great starting point to really understand how to grow that particular project manager. Okay, that's all I wanted to cover. Like I said, I didn't want to go too deep. There's lots of ways to recover a project. I wanted to approach this from a PMO leader's perspective and really give you some thoughts and best practices around how I approach helping a project manager turn around a project without becoming that de facto project manager. So really start listening to the signs of projects, right? If they're too big or they're too complicated for project managers, you need to step in and support where you can. You really don't want to wait to the very end when an executive taps you on the shoulder. What you want to do is you want to step in early, be proactive, and really understand that. Really start thinking about the long-term impacts this will have on your employees. If you have to start taking over every one of their projects, right? And you're like, hey, just move over, I'll do it. That's not going to be good. That's not sustainable. That's not going to be good for relationships. That's something that you really need to understand. You're there to support and guide and not take over. And then really take into consideration these three areas of focus, right? The project manager, and then ongoing training and support, right? With grace, with care, really to turn that project around as fast as possible. But you'd want to do that while maintaining the relationship and maintaining good positive energy between you and your project managers. Because if you start taking over project after project after project, it's going to really hurt you. So you really want to be careful with that. Make sense? Okay, my name is Bill Dow. Here's all my contact information, tons of ways of getting a hold of me. Of course, you can email me at billdow@dowpublishingllc.com. Check out my training site, billdowpmptraining.com, my blog site. Check it all out. Thank you all very much for your time, and I will see you all online. Thank you very much.